But here's what he did.
Rhyme it. Do you know how to rhyme it? Oh, please just rhyme it.
Then he really gets into it.
Do you know how to rhyme it?
Yes,
Of course, we will.
you don't even have to think
rocking
about
it. So let's rhyme it today. Rhyme it. We are gonna rhyme it. Just
Yeah,
rhyme
that's
it.
where he just rammed it.
I like that.
Everybody,
I'm not going to remember any of it.
That's the way to go.
All over the Rams today and ram it.
I mean, now he's like on his feet.
How are you guys?
Whose house?
Wow.
Ram it.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers the Pod. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined by the other host of this show, Nick. And Nick, we're 2-3. It's been a tough season so far. How are you?
Well, Dean, if I based my entire livelihood on the Rams, I would be horrible. I'd probably have to be resuscitated. But luckily, that only takes up about 90% of my life. So the other 10%, I'm good. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I know I'm smiling right now. But deep down, I'm pissed off. I mean,
Yeah. I sit down. I'm at this Firestone Brewery, which never go to a brewery to watch a game. Just
that's a fact.
101. They're not going to have enough TVs. I thought it was like a sports bar, but no,
Two
they don't care
TVs
about
max
this.
in every brewery.
Yeah, they don't care about the jocks. They care about the hipster guys who want to sample the beers. That's what I'm there for. So I guess that's on me. I go to Firestone Brewery. Not a good time. Couldn't see the TV that well. Had to leave my group of friends to sit in front of a TV. And as soon as I sit down, a strip sack for $6. And from that moment on, I was just like, bartender. And it was not a good time.
Well, and yeah, Nick, and that's kind of like when I was putting together whatever kind of script I'm looking at right now. Like when you're trying to figure out how do you start the episode? Do you start it with the strip sack? Do you start it with the pump block? Do you start it with the worst offensive series in the Sean McVay era? Like where do you even begin with this? The Michael Gallup catch, the long run by Tony Pollard, Rams getting outscored 49-3 in the fourth quarter so far this season. Matthew Stafford with 4 picks in the fourth quarter of games this season. It's been a little bit of a dumpster fire. It's a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. It's a combination of, obviously offensive line health. You don't have great health in the secondary. Your running backs aren't producing the way that they should. There's an Allen Robinson dilemma, Nick. I mean, I'll just pass it over to you. Where do you want to start? Because I feel like there's probably 6 or 7 topics just from yesterday that we can kind of pick and choose from.
I think it's only fair to start with Matthew Stafford in the sense, probably not in the sense most of you think I'm going to go.
Yeah, I don't know where you're going. This is the one thing I feel like cannot be critiqued right now.
No, hold on. No,
proceed.
Exactly.
Proceed.
Let me get there.
Yep.
The pick in the fourth quarter, he's doing everything he can to find anybody that can make a play. He can't do anything when he has no time to get rid of the ball. The man is being murdered back there. It is very Halloween friendly if you're if you're watching for those reasons. It's just sad because he came off his best season, and you just think now the second year under the Sean McVay offense, you think he's going to be able to flutter, and yet now all of a sudden Sean McVay's calling Cooper Kupp screen throws to Henderson, and you're like, what am I even watching on TV?
To Akers. What?
Akers.
And I watched that play 100 times. I'm thinking back to myself. They ran it well with Odell Beckham Jr. to Cam Akers last year in the wild card series, the wild card round against the Cardinals. They had no issues with that play. Cam Akers was wide open. Different situation this time. Stafford threw the ball a little bit behind Cooper Kupp, and then Cooper Kupp kind of had to adjust, make a throw. Cam Akers had to adjust in traffic, try to make a play. It's just kind of the worst of the worst in terms of that series. But then just going back to what you said about Matthew Stafford, those numbers too, you could spit out all these statistics of, okay, fourth quarter interceptions, fourth quarter mistakes. There's this, there's that. There's a lot of context to it to where it's kind of empty if you're just talking about Matthew Stafford throwing an interception in the fourth quarter, because the context of these games, he's trying to make a play. He's gotten hit 20 times, gotten pressured 20 times, gotten sacked 4 or 5 times already at this point in the game, scrambling around for his life to try and make a play as you're disoriented from getting hit all day. I think it's a little bit of an empty number. But we talk about the worst offensive series in the Sean McVay era. You could argue it was the first series of the game, and you could also argue it was the series where Brandon Powell returned that punt all the way down to the 30-yard line, their territory. All you have to be able to do is put together a decent series. You call a couple of run plays. What happened was Cooper Kupp, as he makes that catch and has to make the throw to Cam Akers is in traffic. He's not the kind of receiver that can go up and get the ball. There's probably 3 or 4 different options that are potentially better in that situation to go up and make a catch in traffic. There's that. The next play is a Darrell Henderson hold. It's his only carry of the game that got taken back. Went for about 7.5 yards. It was one of the more explosive runs of the game.
Only carry of the game. I think that
gets taken back. Yeah, and then I think they went back-to-back plays to Allen Robinson I think they went a screen, and then they went the other side of the field. I don't know if they ran a slant for a yard or it was like a curl route. There's not enough in terms of when your back's up against the wall. You could argue it's personnel up front. You could argue it's injuries. But at the same time, make it simple. Just give Darrell Henderson the ball for 7.5 yards on first down. Why do you have to come out in this game, throw the ball 3 times? And we talked about it, Nick. We previewed this team. You understand that they let up the most explosive run plays. They let up the most run plays of over 10 yards of any team in the entire league. And Sean McVay comes out pass. What the hell's going on?
I don't even know how. They are going into this game, I think, thinking, okay, we have a hard defensive battle, and these other teams are picking us apart. So let's just try to do what's working against us on us, because I'm sure that's what's working internally in practice. At least this is the only way I can think they got to where they were, because that's how they run their defense, right? It's pick them apart, and it's been working against them. So maybe they're like, let's adapt here. But if you're doing any study on the team that you're going up against, like we did before the episode last week, you would know that to stick to the run. And it's really frustrating that Henderson just is out there blocking only, and you're not even giving him a chance to carry the ball. And I know you're kind of immediately playing from behind, but it was early in the game. You can still run the ball.
I don't even conceptually understand how you can put Darrell Henderson on the field for 37 snaps and give him 1 single carry. It doesn't even really make sense as a running back. He's not in the position that he needs to be able to make plays for your team. There's a lot that goes into the running backs. I think one thing that I just want to call out, because we're going to talk about Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson here, and we'll go back to the rest of the offense. I mean, just Sosa doing the Lord's work, just pulling out the most unbelievable statistics that you could possibly find. Last year, broken tackle plus missed tackles per attempt percentage. Sony Michel, Nick, I mean, how long are you going to beat the drum or the hammer or whatever you want to call it for the quote-unquote bowling ball that you love to see? That, to me, is Sony Michel. And couldn't find a job in the offseason, goes and signs with the Chargers right in the backyard of where he played before. 15% broken plus missed tackle per attempt percentage. Cam Akers, 11.1. Darrell Henderson, 8.5. This is last year. Now fast forward to this year, and now Sosa's comparing him to a player that's not even supposed to really be on the field too frequently. I think he's a Chase Edmonds replacement in Arizona that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago. In Eno Benjamin. All right, James Conner gets hurt. I know they have another back there also, but this is just basic stuff. Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers, 72 attempts. Alexander Madison, the backup for the Vikings, 20. Eno Benjamin, 22. Both of those guys, Benjamin has 7 broken tackles. Madison has 13. Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson combined have 8. These guys are not, when the opportunity presents itself, I think I have a bone to pick with Cam Akers at this point. I just don't feel like he's the player that he previously was prior to the Achilles injury. And I feel like there's a lot of heady stuff going on to where you're previously in the doghouse. You're trying to make too much happen. You're missing clear cut open gaps in situations where you can negate pass rushers. There's a legitimate opportunity to just push these guys aside and Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and Dante Fowler, whoever else you're bringing at the quarterback, you could negate them by running at a specific gap or running right at them and being able to double team. And they did that in a couple situations. There were a couple cutback lanes for Cam Akers that he could have hit. And you don't even get the side-by-side comparison with Darrell Henderson in this game because he only got one carry.
If I'm sitting on my couch and I see a lane, I feel like that just annoys me because
you're sitting there drinking beer.
Yeah, I'm sitting there drinking beer and I can see the lane. And it's not something that honestly usually happens often because most of these guys are looking at it face forward and, they're obviously cutting the way that they're supposed to. I mean, I would say like 99% of the time, you're not going to see the lane before they do. But
for the record, Nick and I were not running backs. We were quarterback receiver, dynamic duo, or Nick would play tight end. It's a quasi.
Yeah.
We don't see the lanes the way that a professional running back should. But if you see the Red Sea part while you're sitting there having an IPA, there's some depression to be had.
Sitting there not having a Rolling Rock, which is all I wanted, or a Bud Light, because of course they don't have that. I got this like citrus beer, and I made my girlfriend drink it because I was like, "This is the worst thing I've ever had."
Oh yeah.
I'm not thinking this.
Sure.
Paired with half Rams analysis, half diss track to Firestone Brewery. No, I mean, I think we should just mainly the biggest gripe with Rams fans should entirely be on the offense, and a lot of it should go to Sean McVay. A lot of it the majority, the offensive line, and that has to do with injuries and whatnot. But you have to find a way. There are other ways to score. You have to come up with creative designs, maybe like a double reverse. If Stafford can't get the ball, use a little Jimmy G, like 0.2 seconds, get the ball out of his hands.
Yeah, but there's that. I watched the Eagles line up in a rugby scrum yesterday to punch Jalen Hurts into the end zone. Like, you could do a number of things.
Yeah.
And their red zone creativity is so bad right now.
And if I'm seeing, oh my God, it's horrible. If I'm seeing Skoranek and Powell getting more catches than Allen Robinson, a guy that is on the roster and is getting paid more next year, watching this game was exactly what we thought it could be. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm panicked and I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, this is where they are in the season. This is a completely different team, unlike anything we've seen under the McVay era. And I'm tired of blaming just the O-line because there's more and more glaring problems every week.
Yeah, no, you can't just be defensive. So the offensive line is the most important part of your offense. It's the truth, but at the same time, first off, the Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson topic is a little bit sexier, which is why we let off with it. But also, Brandon Powell, Allen Robinson, Tutu Atwell getting 9 snaps in this game. Brandon Powell, again, gets one single carry, slips. What was it, his 4th carry, his 5th carry of the season, and goes for 1 yard, and the play's filed away.
Yeah.
Like we talked about last week.
I know, I guess he has a short leash, but, get him back out there. If he didn't slip, it looked like he had an extra 6 yards.
Darrell Henderson and Brandon Powell, same amount of carries yesterday, except Brandon Powell had the 1 official carry.
And the frustrating thing is, up until pretty much the very end, they are 100% in that game because the defense is doing everything they can, minus that Pollard run. I mean, and you have to subtract from the 22 points, subtract 9 because of the offense.
Which is what you were playing from behind the entire second half.
Yeah. And then, you do that crazy fossil special teams play before the end of the half in your own territory, which is terrifying. It was a 4th and 10. It wasn't like they were even close.
No, I know.
And then they get it. And you're like, okay, momentum. Let's put together a drive. And then 6 plays later, they're punting.
Right. Yeah, they couldn't even get themselves in field goal position after that play.
What was that even for?
Exactly.
The offense, that has to be that is such a gamble that you need to go out there and do everything you possibly can to get down the field. And they, it was just same old crap. Lining Henderson up like as the far, and so many third and empties. So many.
Yeah, so many. I know.
And it's just like, what are we doing? Stafford needs people there. But give me some 2 tight end sets so we can stop some of these guys. I'm doing everything I can not to make my voice louder because I know that doesn't work well for an audio podcast. So it's
understandable. You're doing a good job keeping it under control. Jake Gervais and Allen Robinson, same amount of receiving yards. You're talking about the fake punt. Jake Gervais catches a 12-yard pass. Allen Robinson catches 3 passes for 12 yards. I mean, like, what are we talking about? So that my thing with Allen Robinson, as I'm thinking all the way through it, and you can go back to Liam Cohn and the game plan and Sean McVay and everything that's kind of going on behind the scenes. My thought was, why don't you just put him in the Van Jefferson role? Why can't he stretch the field and run all of the same routes as Van Jefferson? Are they that different of receivers?
Is he that slow? I don't yeah. I mean,
yes, Jefferson that much? I'm pretty sure Allen Robinson ran a faster 40 time than Van Jefferson did, which was one of the reasons why he fell in the draft, and a knee injury, a little chronic knee injury, which he's been dealing with for 6 or 7 weeks during this season. I mean, it's so confusing.
Speaking of things that they're just filing away, Tutu Atwell comes out, makes it a great catch. That's all we're going to see from him.
Yeah. I think he got maybe 4 more snaps after that, 5 more. He's got 9 total.
What is going on?
Well, and you know what? The whole Tutu Atwell thing, it's like, it doesn't matter what side you're on, whether you got 2 pens in your ears now. I'm insanely distracted. You look like an alien for those who are watching on YouTube. It was funny. That's how I feel right now. Like
I was just getting more and more worked up. I'm writing more and more notes, and as I do that, I just
what were we just talking about? I just got
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu Atwell. Tutu. That play. I'm sitting there watching the game with Dad, and I'm saying, I wasn't on the side of Tutu Atwell could be a player for this offense, but if he can stretch the field and drag a safety over and make a big time play over the top when you need it, I'm all for Tutu Atwell, but the fact that he's only on the field for 9 snaps and it seems like the only thing that he can do is sprint full speed down the field at 21.5 miles per hour, catch a ball over his shoulder that he almost drops, come down with it. And I mean, like, you had that in Deshaun Jackson last year. You know what I mean? Like you had that for the first 7-8 games of the season last year.
Call him up.
I'm so confused over the Allen Robinson dilemma. Like I actually can't understand why it's so difficult to get him the football.
Doesn't it just, to me, and I got a lot of tweets that were similar to this, and it's funny how a lot of Rams fans think the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about this season, the mystery of what's going on with the offense, I wish I was a fly on the wall as to why some of this stuff isn't happening. It just screams 2019.
Yeah.
It's like, what's wrong with Gurley? Where has he been? Why are we not trusting Goff as much as we were before? And clearly there is some stuff going on behind the scenes. Like maybe Robinson is just not able to catch a ball past like 40 yards in practice or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is just becoming alarming, and I want to see the lever. I talked about it last week. Pull the lever on some of these people. Bring some new people in. Like, this is just getting out of hand now. This is a game you can't drop. This was a cannot drop game, in my opinion.
Oh, against the Cowboys?
Against the Cowboys at home, where there's going to be a lot of Cowboys fans. And that they have a backup quarterback. Like, you're catching them at a good time. Cooper Rush 120 yards in the air or something.
He only threw for 106 yards.
Yeah.
Johnny Wolford throws for, or whatever the hell his name is, throws for 10 attempts for 16 completions, 106 yards. He makes one throw to Michael Gallup on 3rd and 15, and that's your ball game. And Darion Kendrick is waving his finger. Like, I also have a bone to pick with Kendrick that we'll talk about when we switch over to the defense. Like, why is Robert Rochelle not playing? As somebody that's been in your system now for 3 years, can't get on the field as the second defensive back, you got to resort to a rookie. There's some confusion there. Like but the offense, before we jump into the defense, 9 pressures again. I think that was a season high. We talked about how much firepower this Cowboys defense has, especially up front. But it seems like on every single level they have players. Parsons is all over the freaking field, which looked like he had 2 torn groins and was still able to manhandle Rob Havenstein. So it's the offensive line right now. And you're talking about pulling levers. Stafford's been sacked 21 times this season. You saw the Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford stat today. It's been boom. Edwards looked like he was rushed back after a concussion, like a really bad sign there that he's going down, and he's probably going to be out a couple of weeks. And it's just not a healthy situation. Forget the game. Like, it's more concerning about this young player who has such a great future in front of him, who's already a Super Bowl champion, needs to be able to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Coloni, weren't very much focused on the center position yesterday, but seemed like he was serviceable enough. And same with Alaric Jackson. And Havenstein was just getting destroyed by Micah Parsons over and over again. But
Havenstein apparently led a closed door meeting today. Is the press that I'm hearing. I hope they have a closed door meeting every day. I hope they're discussing stuff all the time. I mean, these are the people that you work with most, and I know that you're going through a set of different people, but I don't know that I think that was supposed to make us feel better. And it's not like we have an easy defensive matchup next week. The only thing the Panthers do well is defense. And now they're all going to be pissed off because Matt Rule got fired. And we get a spicy Sam Darnold, who we have no 2022.
Are we even going to get Sam Darnold still hurt? Are we going to get him or PJ Walker?
Either way, it's just
either way. Yeah, they're both.
It's Rams are -11, and I'm just like, oh my God, the Panthers money line is tasty.
I saw no, don't do it. I saw it open up at 9. I guess it's crept all the way up to 11. Closed door meeting. Rob Havenstein. I wonder if what did they say to O'Day and Matt Skura in that room? Like, I know McVay talked about it at the presser today that there's potentially an opportunity, but you want to be able to build continuity on the offensive line. Like, you want to be able to go week to week, practice to practice with the same unit so that they can kind of work together. And when you're not on the same page as an offensive line, you move together as a single unit. Obviously, there's some one-on-one singled out assignments where you have to focus on specific pass rushers, but you have to be one cohesive unit. I mean, you can plug and play guys. At this point, I don't think it matters because you're on paper, and really on the field, you can't get any worse. So you may as well look in the bag and say, okay, maybe Odell, maybe Odell, maybe Skura can come in. Both guys that have starting experience. O'Day played with Matthew Stafford in Detroit. So maybe there's something there. I mean, Alaric Jackson's okay at right guard, but I mean, it's going to be the left guard position too, mostly, that's going to hurt us. Bobby Evans, I feel like every time, and I don't know, Nick, if you caught this when you were watching it, but he's standing backwards, looking at Matthew Stafford like, okay, do we know the play? Looking back, pointing at him. And then as the snap count's coming out, he's sticking out his hand to solidify that he's set. I don't know what the hell he's doing. And I don't know if that's common practice by a left guard, but I feel like I didn't see it with David Edwards because he's more so on the same page with the offensive line he played with, has grown up within the NFL, won a Super Bowl with. And this was a player too in Bobby Evans that I know for a fact they wanted to cut, and they only didn't because they wanted some veteran stability in the building. That was it. So you're hoping that one of these guys can step up, considering they've played on, I think Bobby Evans has played right tackle and right guard, now moving over to left guard. It's an offensive line that when you have 9 different starters and you allow 9 pressures in a single game throughout 5 games, you got 9 different starters. It's just, what are we doing?
And
the injury bug. It's the injury bug.
It is. It's the injury bug. It's a Super Bowl hangover. It's a new offensive coordinator who may be his last season as an offensive coordinator for the Rams.
Well, it's for certain that he sticks around. And I think the other thing, Nick, too.
Oh, really?
Because, I mean, he's not going to get poached is my only point.
No, I'm saying he might get fired.
I get maybe, potentially.
I know he's like a friend of Sean McVay, but.
Yeah, I think the one thing about the injury bug, too.
It hasn't stopped him before.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. But when you play 21 games, like these seasons, if the season gets any longer, a team's got to go through the wild card to win a Super Bowl. That's 22 games in comparison to other 70% of league, 75% of the league is only playing 17 games. So like when you talk about just the extra practice, the extra legwork, the durability that has to be continuous throughout the playoff run and into the next season, it's almost impossible to imagine that a team could even repeat in these circumstances.
I was going to say, it is so hard. I mean, after you win a Super Bowl, you're on cloud 9, and we were too, and we're sitting there, we're like,
yeah,
I don't see why they don't repeat. The NFC is a lot easier than the AFC. There's plenty of opportunity. It's like the Niners are starting a different quarterback. He's young. He's probably going to be bad. The division's going to be easier. We don't have to deal with Russ. And you list these things, and you sit there, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to place a bet that the Rams are going to win over 10.5 games this year. They have probably the most difficult schedule. There's like no guarantees on the schedule. It's insane.
No, there's not. This is the one. If you're going to chalk one up as a guarantee.
My theme for the day was all day yesterday. I'm sitting there at this crappy brewery, and I'm just looking at my friends who came to visit me from Jersey for my birthday, and I'm just like, you know what, guys? I am so happy they won that Super Bowl last year. I'm so happy they figured it out and they got it done, because I do not think right now this team can do it. I don't even think they're fighting for a wild card spot right now. It looks like going up again against San Fran again, dropping 2 games to San Fran this year can solidify that we're probably going to lose the division. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like some people are probably like, oh, slow down. It's probably a little too early to say all this. But obviously I'm going to make huge claims,
Yeah, because
I always
you're
have.
Nick of Rams Brothers the Pod. This is
exactly. It's part of my
listen.
part of what people love.
Yeah, and this is both where we wish
Also,
we were.
Sorry, real fast. Crinkle, your homage shirt's on the way. Nice,
Crinkle. Expect some mail in your mailbox tomorrow. This is where we wish we were yesterday. In all honesty, don't you wish you were standing there with Taron Killam while he's wearing our logo on the shirt?
Oh my God, this is a personal win.
I mean, talk about being in a great mood before the game even starts. You get to see that Taron's on stage going crazy. It's just
that's our face. Look at that world-winning smile.
I mean, it's just a smile made for SNL and movies and TV and the bright lights.
That was a personal win. I mean, that's different than the Ramley shirt. That's us.
I actually sent the picture to the family and I said, that's me and Nick pretending to be happy while we're recording the podcast tomorrow night. It is very therapeutic, I have to say. But when you really kind of get into it, it gets a little bit nauseating, especially if people are going to call for Raheem Morris's head, or they're going to start going off about the defense.
No,
did you see that? Did you see the Terrell Lewis tweet today?
Oh yeah, I saw you tweeted it too, and I didn't really like what you said about it, Dean. I'm not going to lie to you.
You don't like what I said about it?
No, because I don't think he's in any place to tweet this out. I mean, honestly, you have to, as somebody who has been in LA for a very long time and who's a transplant myself, you have to know that this is like transplant USA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people come here from other parts of the world to get famous or, just live in a beautiful weather area, live by the ocean, what have you. So there's not a lot and then the people that have been living in California for so long have football teams.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just choose San Fran or Vegas,
Dallas,
or the Raiders.
Or the Raiders.
Yeah. Because the Rams weren't a team. So I think it's very understandable. The Rams have to continue to be great in this city to garner children and other people. So then when I'm older, there is an army of Rams fans. So a team like Dallas, which is the #1 sports team, period, in the world, the most profitable sports team in the world. You don't think those fans are going to travel, and you don't think there are a lot of Dallas fans already in California? The team should be ready for a silent count against a team like this. And they've done that before. So I get it as a cute, come on, guys, let's get some more Rams fans. Yeah. But at the same time, after a loss like that, it just kind of felt like a slap. And
yeah,
personally, I was just mad.
Sure.
And when I saw that, but yeah, I mean, please tell me I'm an idiot.
No, you're not. I think that there's so much that you could unpack from that. I think specifically the fact that if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you've won back-to-back Super Bowls in the early 90s, when football was still, coming to age and it was taking over as the number one product in the world, right? That's when you're able to unite a national fan base. When you're the San Francisco 49ers and you win Super Bowls, you win 5 Super Bowls in 20 years, and you have the best 2 quarterbacks of back-to-back decades in Montana and Steve Young. Or you're the Raiders and you beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl in 1981 or whatever it was to start their legacy, and they win a couple in the 80s. Like, there's so much that goes into forming a national fan base, and I think you got to be a little bit ignorant to it to understand that, okay, maybe there's not going to be that many Rams fans there. There's got to be you got to win. You have to. In Los Angeles, they expect you to win. That's why all throughout the offseason, we talked about this team potentially preparing. Nick, we listed all the reasons why we feel like this team can get back to the playoffs. You have to win back-to-back Super Bowls. You have to win Super Bowls 2 out of 5 years to be able to be considered that kind of dynasty, right? The Rams had originally had an opportunity in 1999 and 2001 to be that kind of dynasty, and I still think they still have a ton of fans left over just from early kids from that era that are still united to those early St. Louis days. And you have to be that good of a football team. In Los Angeles, the standard is that much higher. Like, Los Angeles was robbed of football for how many years? They took the Rams right out of Los Angeles and over to St. Louis.
And then they won like immediately in St. Louis.
Yeah, they won 2-3 years later, which is ridiculous. And drafted Isaac Bruce in the first year of existence, the St. Louis Rams. I mean, just absolutely mind-blowing stuff and great history. But there's also, like, when you're 2-3, I think there's ignorance saying, we have more critics than fans because yesterday felt like an away game. Like, Terrell Lewis, like, dude, how long have you been on the team? Aren't you aware that you played in the NFC Championship and you played in the Super Bowl? Like, why is this a surprise? Get it together, Ramley. Where y'all at?
Yeah.
Like we're here watching. We can hardly afford to get to the frigging games because they're so damn expensive. And also, there's millions and millions of things to do to Los Angeles. You have to find a way to be Showtime.
Yeah, and that pesky little beautiful banana logo that I used to call it in 2020, and I said I would stop critiquing it as soon as they won the Super Bowl, which they did. But that is the pedigree. I'm trying to point to your side. You have it behind you. That LA logo, you are representing Los Angeles, which is a city of champions with the Lakers and the Dodgers and the Rams. So I'm not going to mention the Kings.
There's Sacramento. You're talking about hockey. I thought you were talking about Sacramento.
You have to be up to that standard. And that little logo that you made really, really tries to be like, I'm one of these guys. Look at me. I'm an LA team. It clearly says it. Looks nothing like a Ram. So, yeah, I'm not. I have no pity. I have zero pity, and I know a bunch of Rams fans that went to that game that probably saw that and was like, I was there. I showed up.
Yeah.
Did you show up? Like almost talking back to the team. Sorry.
That's perfect.
I know, but that's going to spike the audio.
I'm laughing because I saw a lot of comments that said, hey, I'm there. Hey, I've been a Rams fan for X amount of years. Hey, I supported them all throughout the darkest era. Hey, I was there actually yesterday. Brought my wife, brought my kids. It was a great time. Like, it felt ignorant.
And like, it's really,
and also,
no, continue. Sorry.
I was going to say, his guy's got 1 sack on the season. I was praising him after he was able to get to Kyler Murray. I'm like, oh, we need more Terrell Lewis. Now I'm thinking maybe we need less Terrell Lewis.
No. I think grand scheme, it's a playful tweet, but it also kind of makes, now I'm just analyzing it. It kind of makes me think that in the locker room, they're like, oh, we'll get it together.
That's
we're
how
the
they
Super Bowl champs. Yeah. Like yesterday felt like an 8, like it says we go and get it together. And it's like, you should be worried.
A little bit. Yeah.
Like, I'm worried watching these games. At no point in the last 2 weeks, it feels like November of last year, where what you see is just except the difference between November of last year is at least they had a very good record going into November. This
Sure.
is the start of the season.
Yeah.
Like this, we don't have any like really good games to compare this to. Even the 2 wins, the win against the Cardinals was kind of hairy. The closest we've had to a feed up moment, and yet the Cardinals are driving in the fourth quarter, and you're like, oh my god. And then
the Falcons.
I mean, at one point you're up like 31 to like 10.
You may as well just gave that game away too.
Yeah, I know.
It's the only time I felt like I've been watching any offense this season.
It just feels like they are absolutely a completely different organization than last year.
Yeah.
Or as
maybe
some
not
would
completely
say,
different. Yeah.
as some would say, this looks like the team that mortgaged their future, which is what I heard today on like talk radio and whatnot.
Well, I mean, like, so
now you're paying the price. Now you're paying the credit card bill, and I'm like, that pissed me off. So I was like, yeah, but because we got the ring, so we went all in and we won. So I mean, yeah, this was inevitably going to happen, but it's also still early. It's different when it comes from somebody else. I can say it, but they can't.
You're right. No, they can't say it. If you're not a Rams fan, you can't say that.
Nick, right?
Right. Yeah, really. I know. I think the Terrell Lewis thing is so interesting, right? Because I watch Aaron Donald do the most amazing things as a pass rusher. Like, he is not an edge rusher. He's not supposed to be Terrell Lewis or Leonard Floyd or Von Miller. And Aaron Donald's coming off of the edge making a play like he's Von Miller or Nick Bosa or Micah Parsons.
Play where Cooper Rush has no pocket awareness, and Donald is just like, about to eat him. Jack Black Bowser style.
We called that matchup out. We said, not Tyron Smith. It's Tyler Smith. It's a rookie. Aaron Donald's going to be able to get around him. And lo and behold, he does. But like, then you got an edge rusher coming out and saying that, like, there needs to be retooling. There needs to be something, a lever to be pulled. And that, to me, Nick, is the direction that this team has gone under this regime. Under Sean McVay and Les Snead and Stan Kroenke, they have gone out and added talent. It doesn't matter at what point in the season. They've evaluated the fact that, okay, there's a loophole to the cap situation, right? We compared Les Snead to the Billy Bean a couple of years ago because of the way he's able to manipulate the cap and because it kind of changed the landscape of the league, and other teams can kind of replicate it a little bit. The Rams are the most extreme example of that. So when you evaluate all of those pieces and then you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step? Who's the next player? Who do you add? What needs help? That you need an edge rusher for certain. You potentially need another offensive lineman if the current group can't get it together and you can't find a collaborative group of 5. You might need to make a move for a running back. You need Van Jefferson to get healthy. You might need Odell Beckham Jr. back. Like, there were 2 questions in November. We need a pass rush and somebody that can take the top off of a defense and alleviate some pressure off of Cooper Kupp. And you added Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. Yeah. This year, you need 5 players, or you need 2 players that are top caliber that can fit under the cap. And then you need 3 or 4 complementary pieces if the depth on the roster doesn't work out. And you know what? It's the kind of philosophy. It's the way that they've set up their books. They've gone all in, the F them picks methodology. Where do you go from here? Is this how it all comes crashing down? I don't think they're going to let that happen. That's the only reason why I have optimism, because if you get a win, you go into a bye week, and then somehow you beat San Francisco the week after, you're 4-3, and the season's certainly looking up if you're able to add some talent back onto the roster.
Yeah,
and my instinct tells me they're going to do something.
My worry is this team is just not designed to beat San Francisco, not with how they are just up front. It's just going to be a really hard win.
It's a fact.
And then the way that Raheem runs the defense, where it's like, okay, we'll let you, pick us apart, meet us in the end zone, try to go over the top. It's like the 49ers never do that anyway. So it's just the worst matchup. But also, just to your point, I still think what the Rams did last year is the blueprint of the NFL. It's just now we have kind of got the injury bug. There's a little Super Bowl hangover, and some of the guys that we brought in are not who we thought they were. I'm looking at you, Allen Robinson. But apparently the Bills are already calling the Panthers about CMC.
Mhm.
Probably like a beautiful 1-year deal, right? And then the Bills are also the people that went out and got Von Miller. So it's like, if you have all the pieces, I'm sure all these teams are going to be getting rid of their picks so they can win a Super Bowl 1 year. Because, obviously the Rams are trying to do what they're doing sustainably, but they did what they set out to do. Which was
it's what, and you're so right.
If this is the aftermath of that, then so be it. Because I'm not. If they didn't win the Super Bowl and this is the year that we had right now, I mean, you and I are at least I could be in a completely different state of mind.
Oh my God, podcast would be unlistenable. Not because of you, just because of us.
Oh my God! Oh God! I would
No,
never
but Nick,
stop.
I mean, awesome point. Because with the Bills, is anybody going to call them, a money team or an all-star team or all the names
in Los Angeles?
You're right, exactly. Everybody's going to be like, oh, Buffalo loaded up. They got this incredible team. They got the whole world behind them, and they're going to mortgage their future to try and win a Super Bowl. Like, because if you're talking the way that we're talking and you live in Buffalo, like you've never been able to experience that.
Yeah. That's the only thing where I'm sitting here and I'm like, yes, I am mad. And yes, they just won the Super Bowl last year. But historically, I mean, we could be the Bengals in the exact same situation, except we lost the Super Bowl, And now Zach Taylor looks like a freaking idiot. And
you're
just
legitimately talking about him being on the hot seat.
Yeah. But it's like, oh, look how good this team is. And he was hugely responsible for that last year. Don't get it twisted.
Completely.
But yeah, it's like we could be in a lot deeper crap. And then just the teams that won the Super Bowl the following year, or even when, it is just so hard to have a similar mentality. The more games, you're playing more games, you have a target on your back. Everybody wants to beat you because all those games are important because it's the Rams won the Super Bowl. If we can beat them this year, boy, do we have a really good chance ourselves. And that's exactly what Dallas thinks right now. But it reminds me of speaking of the 2018 year, the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and then Foles came back, and then they ended up going to the.
I think they went double doink. I think they went to the divisional round. Yep.
Double doink. Then they almost beat the Saints. That's kind of where I'm trying to temper my expectations. Let's just get into the playoffs.
I think that's good.
I just want to see January football.
I could not be more on the same page.
Let's just show me stuff that I can be excited for, because up to this point it hasn't really been any of that.
No, there's not enough to be excited about right now.
No.
But I think the most interesting part of this season, hi Kat, is that how do you come out of this F them picks methodology? You're going to be evaluated now on the next 3 or 4 moves you make to make your football team better for the rest of the season. And that's recency bias. That's how the national media is going to analyze this entire Rams organization. It's going to be, what have you done for me lately? Because it's Los Angeles and it's not Buffalo. So you're going to hear a lot of people from the national media say, well, I don't know if this is the right move for the Rams. I don't know if they're just trying to keep that window open. I don't know if they're going to put themselves in further cap hell. They have no draft capital. They're not getting enough comp picks back. You're going to hear all of that, but the next couple of weeks, even this week specifically, and then going into the bye, you're going to know what this team's cut out of. And it could get better, could get worse.
Yeah. I want to do 2 things. I want to take a deep breath and just kind of, to our listeners, let's just say, I want you to take a deep breath, everybody, realize where we are in the season. We're only we're a fourth of the way through. And now right before you exhale.
Oh, I already exhaled.
Oh, sorry. We'll take another one real fast.
All right.
Now, right before the exhale, just think about, if we keep playing this bad, we're not going to have OBJ. Now you can exhale. Yeah, not a fun exhale the second time.
No, not a fun exhale.
So as much as personally, I feel like it'd be nice to be oh, hey, yeah, it's going to be all right. It's early. That's not how I feel. Like they need to be playing to OBJ caliber because we need him.
I think they feel there's heat on the ass right now. They're hot. I'm not saying that anybody's seats are hot.
He's the prettiest girl on the ball. So I think what I would do is I would make him an offer now and be like, look, I know our team isn't great right now. We clearly need you a lot. Like, it's not like you're not going to get a lot of touches. But rehab with us right now is besides just being a free agent, and we'll get you some money now. And then, rehab on our dime. And then when you're ready, we'll get you back in the scheme. And I think that could be where they get him sooner. But I think if you make that call, he's probably just like, I'm going to play the field. You know what I mean? Like he probably like, I think he's enjoying just being a fan. So
I can't say that I blame him. I just don't know if there's any legitimacy in him coming back right now.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe winning the Super Bowl would probably just make me like guarantee I'm coming back. But then your best pal Vaughn leaves, so you're like, well, do I really want to be here?
I think you have to sell him on a 2-year plan. I think you have to say if we go to the wild card round or we go to the divisional round this year,
don't die.
Yeah, that's the Rams' 2-year plan is don't die, don't become irrelevant, don't go in a rebuild mode, stay in a retooling mode to be able to get back to where you once were. Odell Beckham Jr. will certainly help that. Van Jefferson will certainly help that. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, when does Van Jefferson come back? Do we know?
After the bye.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we're going to get Van and Brian Allen back after the bye. And hopefully Jordan Fuller is going to be back full-time. Ty Hill also. You might get Bobby Brown back. You're going to get Bryson Hopkins back. Both suspended right now.
Okay.
You're getting some players back. You are. Bobby Brown will help the pass rush. Bryson Hopkins was the second tight end, the only other tight end they kept on the roster, then was suspended for 3 weeks. You're getting players back for sure. And I think they feel like if we can add 4 players that are already on the roster, and then we could maybe add 1 or 2 other, an Odell and then 1 other player, maybe that's enough. They feel like that's going to be enough to get through the season. But then there's next year. How do you go into next year?
Yeah.
2 things before we sign off, and we will talk to you guys later this week about the Carolina Panthers. 1, I totally forgot to do the ad read. So, Nick, do you mind if I do that real quick? Bet online. Football is back.
I'll do it.
Go ahead. You do it.
Bet online. Football is back, and Bet Online remains your number 1 source for all your football betting needs this season. You'll find the latest odds, matchup info, player news, and game trends. And as your continued source for all sports wagering info, Bet Online features live betting, free contests, live scores, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, always the easiest. Bet Online's got you covered. They got MLB, MMA, tennis, boxing, and they even have golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 100% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV to receive your rewards. Bet Online, where the game starts now.
Beautiful.
I like Vegas plus 7.5 tonight. Maybe do a little believe.
Why not? I'm into it. And the last thing, fewer football with the GOAT shirt, Aaron Donald pointing to the ring. If you guys want this shirt, maybe we'll do a little bit of a giveaway. I will wash it, obviously, or maybe we'll talk we'll talk to fewer football to get you a brand new shirt.
I'll wash it.
I'm a clean cut guy, but I don't know if you want the shirt off my back.
No,
only Nikki gets to wear my old shirts.
Yeah, exactly. My buddy who's at Penn grad school right now got me this for my birthday. So
very cool. It makes you look just that much smarter.
It does, Did you go to Penn? No.
No, went to USC actually. Fight on.
Yeah, those are the conversations I'll have. Or no, I'll get Penn
at the brewery. Yeah, no, I went to USC.
Yeah, no, fight on.
All right, guys.
Wait, hold on, just real fast. This has nothing to do with anything, but I have a lot of friends that go to Penn State, and people will be like, "Oh, you went to Penn?" and they'll just be like, "Yeah," and not correct them.
That's not cool.
No.
That's like saying you're from Philly when you're from Jersey.
I know. Can you believe that?
That's not right. Who does that?
All right, guys. Try to keep positive attitude.
Yeah, keep it up. I thought this was a decent episode, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the therapy session again. As we've now lost 2 straight games, going into Carolina, could be 3-3, could get back to 500 with the bye week looming and some time to relax and exhale. We love you guys.
What?
Peace.
Peace out. One last thing. Sorry,
Please.
it's my third last thing.
It's fine.
If they lose against Carolina, I think the target is officially off their back. So, maybe that team coming out of the bye is like way scrappier. So either way, just relax. We won the Super Bowl last year. And I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's true. All right.
Yeah.
So enjoy, guys.
Goal is to try and win it again at some point. If not
Yes.
this year, then next year.
Yes.
And we'll be here for it. Appreciate you guys. Go Rams.